Alright, hello and welcome back everybody, this is Ace. So we finished looking at the Paladins and now we're going to take a look at the Hunter. He's next on the list. Let's put together a team here for SFK. Let's do a Paladin tank, Priest healer. We're gonna look at the Hunter, so we're gonna get a Hunter and let's do a Warrior. I think last time we looked at the Warrior in one of the first videos, he wasn't doing as good as the Hunter, so I'm just curious if the situation has changed now at level 24. We looked at him at level 14, so now that we're 10 levels higher, he's got a decent weapon. Yeah, that's definitely a serviceable weapon. And the Hunter's got a decent weapon as well, so they're both, yeah, they're well off, they can handle that. Let's mark everybody just so we can keep track of them, just so they don't get lost in big crowds. Now the thing about the Hunter is that you can set his pet to whatever you want. Let's say you set you whisper him set pet, and he's gonna give you a list of the pets he can use. So you see it's a pretty big list. I'm not sure. Let's do cat maybe, because I think the cat has more talents, or just higher single target DPS, or just focus more on the DPS. I'm not sure about all of them. I mean, I did go through all of them when I did the talents. I don't remember their spells off the top of my head, but I did write logic for all their spells which come from talents. And yeah, I can't show you their builds in particular, but they are what I would call common sense builds, as in first they try to get the important abilities. So yeah, like a Dragon Hawk would have the breathing, fire, whatever, stuff like that, and bite and claw. So they have the damaging abilities, they get lightning reflexes, they get avoidance, so they prioritize getting those, and the rest of the points that remain usually go into health, with some exceptions where it goes into armor. So they prioritize either health or armor and they splash into the other. It kind of depends on the pet. For example, if you look at, I don't know, say a bear, the bear probably has primarily health, and something like a crab has primarily armor and then splashing into the other. It's not, I don't think it's a huge deal. But I think when I do the legacy companions, I'll have to figure out, I haven't done this already because I haven't implemented the hiring NPCs. But I'll have to figure out a way to get your own pet to be summoned by the companion, so we don't have to, yeah, you don't have to contend with whatever talents I'm doing for these pets. You can do your own and figure it out. So that's probably what's going to happen there. But otherwise, let's set the pet to cat. You can also just, if you don't want the pet for some reason, even though you saw in all the videos so far, the pet is doing quite a lot because he has custom logic for all the abilities. Like I've explained previously, he's going to pull focus for abilities such as growl, so he prioritizes, always keeps focus for that one. And his main ability, so if he has lightning breath or something like that, or ravage, I don't know, whatever, then he's going to pull energy for that. So if you have a wolf, for example, and he's doing the AoE buff, then he's pulling focus for that as well. And yeah, like usually bite is like the lowest priority, so he would do that if at like 100 focus. It kind of depends on what abilities he has, right? So he tries to kind of prioritize them. So he has they have logic for all the abilities and stuff, and in practice they seem to work pretty well. Like the Dragon Hawk has something with some kind of AoE, fire breath or something. So the way you would think about the companions and the way the companion abilities works, that's kind of how I wrote the logic for the pet ones as well. And yeah, again, they pick up some of the damage and the threat from the NPCs. They help off tank to some degree, so they're pretty useful. But if you don't want a pet, you can do set pet off, right? And that would immediately cause the hunter to put the pet away, or you can set it back on and he'll just resummon him. So that's that. I think the only particular annoying thing about the hunter that a lot of people seem to, well, I guess it has split opinions. It's just the fact that when he is in the dead zone, he tries to go at distance, which is in the opposite direction of the target he's trying to shoot, but not always, because you saw that sometimes if the target he's trying to attack is in the dead zone, he would first check if there's another target who's not in the dead zone that he can attack, right? And if all the targets are in the dead zone, then he'll go in the opposite direction to get some range so he can shoot the bow, which may lead to situations where, as we have seen ourselves in the previous videos, he may pull by mistake some things, but that's something that I leave up to you to control. I haven't had any problems. We've obviously cleared all the dungeons so far, so yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes. The rest of these guys, we've already talked about it, so we're familiar with the other classes. I initialize myself so I can look at some of the things he's supposed to be doing. Yeah, he starts with aspect of the hawk. Maybe at higher levels you'll see that he starts to use aspect of the cheetah. Actually, let me show you this. I'm not sure if we can go outside. Yeah, we can. Cool. So check this out. This is a thing about all the companions who have, let's say, movement speed boosting abilities. Like, say, a shaman would have the ghost wolf, a druid would have the travel form, whatever. The hunter would have aspect of the cheetah. So if you yourself were to use the aspect of the cheetah, right, then the hunter himself would also do it. So then you could go just a little bit faster. And if I was a druid in travel form, then he would still use it, right? So all these guys are supposed to be using that. That's just, a little bit of interesting trivia. I'm not sure how much you'll be using this. He's going to be using aspect of the monkey, I think, if he's attacked in melee by a bunch of NPCs. This other stuff, Coal Pet, Dismiss Pet, Eagle Eye, Eyes of the Beast, Feed Pet, he's not using all of that. The companions don't need to feed their pets. I hacked the core, as in their pets are set when they are summoned by the hunter to have maximum loyalty and happiness. And I hacked the core to prevent any degradation, so you'll never need to worry about this. Their pets are always 100% or happy or fed and all that jazz. It's the same with his arrows, actually. The companions don't consume arrows. They just have, they just don't consume it. They get arrows so they can equip them because the game needs to calculate damages and whatnot, but they don't actually consume them when they shoot them. So you don't have to worry about them running out of arrows or stuff like that. They use Man Pet out of combat. I don't think they use it in combat exactly. I don't believe they use that in combat. Hold on, is this the sort of thing it's an instant cast? Maybe they should use it in combat. That's a very good point. Hunters should use Man Pet in combat, ? I'll check that after the video. Yeah, they revived the pet out of combat. They use Scare Beast. We saw in the previous video in the Wailing Caverns. So it's almost the same logic for all the fears. When a party member gets below 50% HP, companions, whether you have a warlock or something or a hunter here, he will try to use a fear ability. A lot of people don't like fear because they say, oh, the target is gonna go run into the next pack. That's you're playing the game wrong. Oh my god, Ace is talking shit about us. I don't care. You're playing the game wrong. If at any point you're fearing something and it pulls another pack, that means you're fighting too close to the next pack. That's common sense, yes? So what you need to do, like I've showed you in the previous videos, and we even did riskier pulls and everything, just use pullback, right? So just use pullback, And then it does not matter where they fear, what they do, where the hunter goes, all that jazz. You have zero stress because they'll just not go there. Like the fear movement generator does randomize their movement across the map or anything like that, so it keeps them within 50 yards or something. So if you always do pull back, then you shouldn't have this issue. You're playing the game wrong if you do. So if you feel like, oh, I need to deny this, well, suit yourself. And then you keep wiping in dungeons and you're blaming me. But you saw that in the previous videos, they are using this scare beast effectively because they are using their sphere, and this sphere lasts for 10 seconds, and they are ignoring the fear target. That means it alleviates the stress from your group. Obviously, they are fearing targets who are in danger, so it's saving somebody's life. Yeah, they're not gonna fear if the target, if the guy who's in danger is like the tank. So anybody but the tank. So if your priest is at 50% HP, man, he's got 5 beasts attacking him. Yeah, definitely fear one of them. It's just useful, right? At least that's what I think. Of course, you can disagree with me, and if you do, it's very simple. You just deny add scare beast. Very simple. I'm confused. I don't understand. Ah, I misspelled it. Right, so he just blacklisted and he won't use that anymore. If you change your mind, you can deny remove scare beast. Yeah, I misspelled it again. I cannot type. Right, so he removed it. Or what you can do, let's add it back in. Instead of removing one in particular, you can also say remove all, and that will just clear the entire blacklist. And if it's on the blacklist, you'll just not cast that at all. So I'll leave that up to you. Aim shot, I tried a lot to integrate aim shot into his rotation. Initially I had them use aim shot, but then I did more math, and like I talked about the auto shot, and I tried to be very precise with the auto shot to the best of my ability. The problem is it was denying the auto shot, or it was canceling the auto shot because the aim shot is such a long cast. It's canceling the auto shot, and what happens after that, because you might say it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal, because this auto shot, even though it says 0.5, oh, perfect, it says 0.5 second cast, right? So you're gonna add that 0.5 second cast to that 2.34 second cooldown, so it's actually like 2.84 second cooldown, right? Because you're adding this extra cast time on top of that cooldown. So that's the problem. So you're just auto-shotting less. That's why I had to be very careful not to make these abilities, like say he was auto-shotting and I was arcane shotting right before auto-shot would be available again, which was canceling the auto-shot, and then he had to do this 0.5 second cast again, which in the long run, it simply reduces DPS. So I had to make them respect the auto shot timer a lot more, which means I had to remove the aim shot. Well, he's going to do calculations on it. I am not sure if maybe you have like some supremely stupid high cooldown, or supremely stupid slow bow for some reason. I don't know. I haven't really found one that was that stupid. Maybe the legendary one. I have no idea. They are still calculating this. So if some magical combination exists, they're gonna find it and use it. But in my limited test, I haven't found any. I did tell them to use aim shot from out of combat. So when they're out of combat and they're going to attack a victim for the first time, they're going to cast an aim shot. I consider delays like that. I know some people will disagree with it. They'll probably deny it. You can exercise that if you want. I consider the delay before entering combat to be good because it gives the tank more time to establish aggro and threat. And it's the same with the other classes, like a mage, if he has Pyroblast, he would cast it out of combat and stuff like that. Takes 6 seconds, right? But think about it. What he shoots his Pyroblast, and what's the next thing the mage does? He starts doing Flame Strike and Blizzards and Poop Sense and whatnots, and he's going to build up a stupid amount of threat. So just that 6 seconds at the very beginning is very beneficial, so the tank can have enough time to deal with the pack he's tanking. He's using Arcane Shot. I don't remember specifically. I think he was using it until now, as we have seen from the logs, but he's not always doing it. Although Arcane Shot, the problem with Care Shot, it shares the cooldown with the Aim Shot, but if you cannot do Aim Shot, then I'm just saying, you might as well just do something. Yeah, I am saying not to use Arcane Shot if he knows Aim Shot, so that may be a mistake. Though I'm not sure. I guess I'm not exactly a hunter min-maxer. I'm not that experienced with it, so if later on I figure out that Arcane Shot is useful for the rotation, maybe I'll send it back in. So he should not be using Arcane Shot anymore. Until now, the hunter has been top DPS. We'll see if not using Arcane Shot breaks something. I don't know. He uses Concussive Shot when he's trying to peel for other targets. So if he sees some enemies is coming to attack him or something like that, he would use Concussive Shot as a means to deter that thing. He does use Distracting Shot also to peel for like squishies and stuff like that. Let me see. Distracting Shot. Right. Actually, the way I see, I see that I've only done Distracting Shot when he's also using Misdirection. I wrote this logic at level 70, so it kind of skewed a little bit my view. That's why it's good to go over these low-level things. I think using a Distracting Shot during Misdirection is 100% very good, because it just adds that threat directly to whomever you're misdirecting, which is great. But I thought about this many times. Perhaps what I should do, let me put it on the to-do list. So Distracting Shot, check for threat amount to see if you can pull aggro off of fragile class. What I mean by that is, what I would consider to be perhaps ideal in a sense. You remember in the previous video, as I said, that the melee paladin was usually taunt, right? The paladin taunt. And you might find that strange, but it's not, because the melee paladin has mail armor or plate armor, and he's generally very tanky, so he can take a hit. But your priest is not. Your hunter is not, your rogue is not, right? So if he sees that there's a bunch of mobs going after your rogue, then you might as well just taunt them off. And then the tank later on, he'll just pick it off of the paladin instead of the priest, right? And you saw with your own eyes, if you watched the previous video and the Dead Mines video, even though we did huge pulls, absolutely huge pulls, yeah, they handled it just fine. And part of the reason why is because the paladin was taunting off enemies. And I even consider giving this to the warrior. The problem with the warrior is that for him to taunt, he needs to go into the defensive stance, and then you have kind of a problem, because defensive stance, yeah, just changing stances requires some finicky calculations there, because he needs to dump rage so he doesn't waste it, and I don't know, it's too complicated. But I would consider doing the same with the Distracting Shot for the hunters. But what I will need to do is I will need to calculate, if he was going to use this on a target, to calculate if the amount of threat he generates using this on the target would actually push him over the threshold to cause that enemy to attack the hunter as opposed to whatever fragile class the enemy was otherwise going for. So that would take some work. I'm not sure. I'm probably gonna do it still because I thought about it many times. So maybe I'll just do it. He's gonna use Hunter's Mark quite a lot initially, and especially on vanilla, I don't have them use Hunter's Mark unless they're fighting a boss. But I changed my mind on TPC because of my philosophy of them trying to do as much, to bring as much utility to the group as possible. Yeah, so that's kind of the idea there. And again, the proof is in the pudding because you saw them in all the videos until now. They are top DPS, so clearly it works. But we are also considering the fact that the improved Hunter Mark exists as a talent, and this gives more melee attack power, which means the tank is doing better. So I find that quite advantageous. Multi-shot, he uses this both in AoE situations and in single target situations. I've explained to you last time. All the companions are aware of their AoEs and what they would hit with them. So whether it's a mage casting a blizzard or a hunter casting a multi-shot, they know before casting it whom are they going to hit with it. However, I think this is the biggest issue maybe just with the multi-shot itself, because from the moment because it's snapshots, right? It runs the logic and they be like, yeah, it's safe to cast this multi-shot. But from the moment they decide that to the moment, you're casting 0.5 seconds plus the travel time of the projectiles, and that's a lot of time for the mobs to be moving around, which means if they're moving around, then what was true when they casted this may not be true by the time it reaches the target, which means they could accidentally hit somebody who's being a crowd control, like polymorphed or CC marked or out of combat or stuff like that. So all companions always watch out for AoEs, whether it's a priest doing Holy Nova or a warlock doing Hellfire, whichever. They always pay attention to this. But of course, I cannot account for circumstance, and this is why humans are humans. We are better because we have situational awareness and we can understand things. So for example, if a warlock starts to Hellfire and there's a patrolling group of mobs who's going to walk right into that Hellfire, can you really blame the warlock? I don't know. Maybe you can. It's rather questionable. I do give them 4 set AoE. So we have to make a distinction between chained and just straight up AoEs. For AoEs in general, I give them a 3-yard padding to that. So let's say the radius of Hellfire is 8 yards. So I have them check within 11 yards because it is possible that some mob may be traveling along the path, or it may be close enough, margin of error, whatever. For example, there's also something called leeway for when you're casting AoEs, which means when you're on the move and you're casting some AoE like Arcane Explosion, the actual radius of the AoE, even though it's normally like 8 yards, so let's say, he does get a leeway of 2 extra yards, so it becomes 10 yards. That's why if you watch videos of mages kiting and all that jazz, you'll see them, like they'll even say it in the videos. If you're on the move, the radius of the AoE just appears to hit better, right? That's because in the core they're granted a 2-yard leeway. So that's why I check with a padding of 3 yards. So it's to account for that leeway and to account for just that extra 1 yard for safety. But I don't do this for chained abilities because, well, I could do some extra checks. It's not the end of the world. I don't do it because it's very expensive to check for that. Even though the when it comes to expensive shit, just wait until I tell you what crazy stuff I'm doing with the AoEs for the other classes. you won't believe it, but maybe I will if it proves to be an issue and stuff like that. They are using Scorpion Stings against bosses because it reduces hit by 5%. That's an extra little goodness. You saw them using Serpent Stings until now. Let me see if they check for time to kill. Serpent Sting. They don't check for time to kill. They just check for the damage. You know what? Let me add the time to kill here. Just to be... we're gonna do this live, get the time to kill, so just make sure that the time to kill is more than 15 seconds. They're not gonna use that very often anyway. They also check to see if the total damage of the Serpent Sting, right? So they calculate internally how much damage the Serpent Sting would deal over its 15 seconds duration, and they check to see if the target has 5 times more life than that. So, but we saw that with Rend already, because they were rending, even though the check is the same with the Rend, they were still rending, but the target was still dying way too fast. Again, even if I calculate the time to kill, if I put all these safeguards, it doesn't really matter, because the bot does not have situational awareness. It does not understand that, hey, we're 5 in a group and maybe there's 2 targets left, so it's pretty clear or obvious or evident that these targets will die very quickly, so there's no point in using this. But on the other side of the argument lies the fact that, well, if they're gonna die so quickly, then what do you care? Like, why do you care if he's using Serpent Sting if the target is gonna get blown up anyway? Because the companions, they don't care about padding their damage meters, right? And I'm only looking at the damage meters for relative comparison, but just for, you know, shits and giggles. But ultimately, what I want more or the most from them is to play correctly. And when you actually need the extra damage, it's good that they use this. So that's why it's still in their rotation. Okay, so that's that is that. What else do we have? They use disengage sometimes when they're attacking. So you saw in the previous video in the dead mines when I put them all on stay and the targets came in melee range. They do use disengage. Let's see. So first thing they try to, when a target is in melee range and they can't hit it with a range attack. Again, just also taking into account the fact that I will try to go at range, but sometimes they cannot and they're actually in the melee range, or as they're running away from the target to go get their distance, they have an opportunity to attack with their melee. So they do try to melee whenever it makes sense for them to do so. So they try to Raptor Strike, they try to counter attack, that's a talent. They do try to disengage, one of the first things. If whatever he's attacking is also attacking the hunter, he is trying to disengage. Disengage removes a flat amount of threat, I think like 800 or something, so it's not guaranteed that will work or not. Again, the same with distracting shot. Maybe I should check if it makes a difference, I guess. I'll just put it on the to-do. This is like minute things, you call them details, but look, it exists in the realm of possibilities that he could calculate if disengage makes a difference or not, and he could determine that it does not make a difference because he just has that much threat on the target. And then he could say, look, instead of disengage, I'm gonna use, honestly, I don't even know if anything else matters. Next on the list would be Mongoose Bite, but that one needs to be procced. And there's also Wing Clip, which I guess it does weapon damage, but it's not too crazy. Or I'm not sure if no, it doesn't do weapon damage. It just does. It applies weapon effects if the weapon has any effect. So in reality, it doesn't really matter that much. So it's, yeah, you don't really have that much to choose from. So might as well just do something. So maybe we don't need to really look too hard into that, I guess. But they do use that. They do put traps down. So if they have enemies within melee distance, they do put traps down. Let me see. Immolation trap. Yes. Trap usage is actually... So trap usage is pretty high on their spell priority list. And they do try to do it. They do have some conditions to differentiate between what kind of trap are they going to use. So for example, at the very top would be using an explosive trap if they have like more than 3 enemies. And I think we might have seen that happen in the previous videos. It's very distinctive explosive look to it. So they do use that when they have at least 3 enemies within 10 yards of them in melee range. So they drop one of these. Especially later on, you'll see it with the snake trap. At least in my test, I saw it quite often happening. They also use freezing trap if they're trying to peel for a party member who's below 50% HP, who's in melee range. They use snake trap quite often. Well, they choose between snake trap and immolation trap, and snake trap eventually just over upgrades the immolation trap, and once they have snake trap, they never use immolation trap anymore. And yeah, the single target one is kind of the de facto. So if they don't have AoE to do, or they don't need to protect anybody with the freezing trap, then they just use either immolation or snake trap if they have it. There's also another freezing trap. What's the other one? Like frost trap or something like that. The one that slows in an AoE. They never use that one. That's probably more useful if you're a real player and you know what you're doing and you understand how to kite and stuff like that. But because the companions don't kite based on movement speed reduction, I think mostly like 99% of the time they don't do this. There may be some fringe cases, so they don't do this, so it's kind of pointless for the companions to do it. The only time actually in vanilla when the slow trap was useful was for Gluth and Naxxramas, and I never really heard of a situation apart from that one. So again, they use Mongoose, they use Raptor Strike and Melee. They don't use any of these track stuff. I have considered it at some point maybe to make it so if you tell the companion to use one of these tracks, then they should give it to you somehow to apply to your own character. But then I kind of changed my mind. So my new philosophy is I want the classes to still feel special to the players. Like for example, a rogue, I have considered, should I make the rogue companions also pickpocket the targets before they would ambush them or something like that from stealth. And after consideration, I decided not to do it, just so the player, when you yourself are playing the class, it's like that special little thing that you're doing. So yeah, something like that along the lines. Although I'm trying to put more emphasis on the people playing rather than the companions. I mean, yes, I want the companions to play correctly, but I don't want the players to feel like what's the point of me playing a rogue if the rogue can just do all the things. And they're already opening doors, locked chests and lock boxes and all that jazz, so it's already doing a lot. But you actually kind of need that to some degrees for boss mechanics and stuff like that. So like if you think Dire Maul, if you think raids, Blackwing Lair and stuff like that, so it's necessary, let's say. But even so, I'll probably limit this stuff. Like for example, I've already limited in vanilla. Mages only can make 1 portal per mage, and I'm going to continue that trend. I'll probably only have them give 1 amount of food instead of just unlimited food, if that's the case in vanilla. I don't agree with that anymore. I think gold sinks are important, so I mean, they should give you the food. They shouldn't even give you the best food. They should give you like one tier below the best food, so that you can never have the best food when running with the companions for free, right? The hunters should give you arrows. They should give you shitty arrows. They should give you a stack of shitty arrows just in case you're like in the middle of some dungeon and you forgot your arrows, so you can at least use your bow. But don't really rely on them to give you the best stuff. So go buy your own food from the vendor, spend the money. The game needs gold sinks. It's not a matter of opinion. Like factually, objectively, the game needs to have gold sinks. I don't care who disagrees. It's, you know, it is what it is. So I'm going to put more restrictions like that, just to not eliminate what's normally normal gameplay. Go make your own food, go get your own arrows, but you know, symbolically they still should still try to help out, I suppose. Like they should help out in a pinch, like emergency type of situation. But yeah, a lot of this stuff I don't bother writing logic for that, like with the tracks, or I gave more example with the warlocks. They have a lot of weird stuff and things like that. I'm just gonna leave for the player to like have some enjoyment out of this. Like for example, when we used to raid Naxxramas, someone who played the warlock would used to use the Eye of Kelrog, whatever it's called, to blow up some of those slimes as we're trying to make our way through, and stuff like that. So yeah, just special little things to make sense for you to play your thing. And yeah, you play a mage, you can make portals. You know, the mage companions can make you one portal, but I don't think I'm gonna give them any additional charges or things like that. Like in the emergency, or you know, you're tired at the end of the day, yeah, the mage is gonna make you a portal, but don't really rely on him to do it all the time, is what I think. So yeah, I'm trying to cut back on a lot of these what I think are too much. Like this, it's kind of like you when you eat sugar, though you should never eat sugar. When you eat something sweet and you have too much sweetness, and at some point you're like, I don't want this, it's too much sweetness, and it's like, I've had enough. And that's kind of how I view the companions at this point. Like they do a lot of things, and they should do some of these things, but it goes to a point where it's actually just too much, and that's why I want to cut back a little bit on it. Anyway, enough rumbling. Let's just get to it. Okay. Yeah, kind of annoying thing about Hunter, they got a change, and I'm not sure where is it. I think it's this one. Right, is this one. So now what the hunters are doing, when you right click, it does the auto shot. But what the problem of that is, auto shot is an actual spell. It's not an attack. So don't think of auto shotting like your, because it's literally a spell from your spell book, right? So it's not an attack like swing your weapon. Swing your weapon is an actual weapon attack. Auto shotting is not a weapon attack. It's casting a spell, like you cast a fireball. So when you right click an enemy, okay, this is what I wanted to see. You right click an enemy and it starts to cast the spell, and if you're out of the range of the spell and you right click, it will say, hey, I'm out of range, but it will not send the companions to attack. And even so, even if you are in range, you need to shoot the arrow, and the arrow needs to hit the target and deal damage before the companions go in and attack. It's a thing that they added in DPC. Emil likes it. I don't like it for this very reason. We tried very hard to work around this issue. It caused other issues as usual. It's you fix one thing and you break another type of situation, so we decided to let it go. I personally would not be using this auto shot feature. I would just create a macro like in vanilla, which worked just fine, and yeah, just use a macro. It's simple. And I would just leave the right click as it is, so you're doing like the melee attack thing, and the melee attack thing is actually an attack command to the companions, right? This is what sends them into attack, so that's why I would be doing this. So like I promised, and it did not disappoint. Though I'm kind of surprised why the priest is not shooting at all. But you can see the Paladin. The Paladin tank is doing really good. I don't know, man. I just think they give a lot of juice to the Paladins. Call me crazy, and don't get me wrong. I tried so hard in vanilla to make the Paladins good and relevant, and I would like to think that to some degree I succeeded. But you know, people don't really judge things by, let's say, in the like as a whole. They look at the damage numbers and they be like, well, the DPS is shit, so therefore the class must be shit. But in reality, even in vanilla, they're very good. It's just that in TPC they're still as good as they were in vanilla, on top of the fact that they do extremely good DPS, and that's just objectively measurable. So there's that. Alright, big pool, everybody. Get yourselves ready. The Paladin tank, unlike the... the Paladin tank, unlike... just give me a second, actually, because it started raining. Alright, I had to close the windows. It started raining out of a sudden. So the Paladin tank, unlike the Paladin melee DPS from the last video, from the last run, he's not waiting for all the mobs to be within, let's say, all grouped up together before he starts using his consecration. He uses rank 1 as soon as he finds like at least 3 enemies within the radius. And the reason he does that is because he needs to group them up together, and rank 1 is not particularly expensive, but it's still useful enough to yeah, just to get them together. So that's why he does it. And once he does have all the enemies together, he does drop the max rank consecration on top of them, just like the melee Paladin does, right? So that's yeah, I guess a little bit of a difference between... how do I open this? I forgot. I forgot how to open this door, and I forgot to look into the commands to activate things. Great. Is this something in here? Do I have to do something? I forgot. Oh, there you go. Open the door, please. Trying to get through. But yeah, okay. So the priest has started wanding. He started doing Holy Nova. That's fine. That's good. The warrior, the warrior is still behind on damage compared to the hunter, but then again, he's doing a lot of utility things. So I again, as usual, I consider 5% to be acceptable margin. So I have nothing against what is happening there. Let's pull all these guys together. Wow, that's a rather big pack. I wonder if they can handle this. I like the fact that the priest is doing Holy Novas. I mean, Holy Novas are not particularly mana friendly though. Alright, I would say they handled that pretty well. I mean, the Paladins, you just gotta get used to this. So from now on, you just know. You bring a Paladin tank in the group, he drops a Consecration, and AoEs can happen, which is, yeah, very pleasant. I like that the damage has stabilized between these guys as well. It's very nice. Yeah, I like what I see. It is good. You can even pull everybody with Calm Command just to make sure that they're getting in here and doing the things they're supposed to be doing. Just so you don't particularly have to wait for them to do it. To speed things up a little bit. Yeah, I like the Holy Nova. I like it. I know it's just burning the priest's mana, but he is looking at how many companions he can heal with that, how many group members he can heal. And he's looking at how many enemies he can hit with it, damage with it. And he does a little bit of weighing, and he's like, yeah, this is good enough to use it. Of course, don't, like I said in the previous video, he's still going to heal if someone goes too low HP. But just for situations like this, it's helpful because everybody else is going down on mana, right? So once the fight is over, everybody else has to drink, so he might as well just do something, right? So yeah, that's... I think that's a good thing. And the damage numbers are, you know, showing good. They're looking good. Is this guy a boss? Yeah, this guy's a boss. The priest is doing Shadow War Pain and Starfall again. It's very nice. You saw the Scorpius thing going out on the... Oh, that's a nice sword. You saw the Scorpius thing, so he uses that against the bosses. Wow, this guy got a nice upgrade. He was already doing very good damage. Now he's gonna do crazy good damage. Come on, man. Let's pick up all these guys. Is this a boss? Yeah, that's a boss. Let's get everybody together. I think this is kind of dangerous. This is kind of a dangerous zone, I believe. I wonder if they can do this. Maybe this was a little bit too greedy. Keep in mind the fact that I am taking damage, and you can see that the priest is also healing me. So it's not even that I'm a negligible quantity in this situation. I am actually hindering a little bit the priest. Oh, they might not be able to do it. I don't know. It's kind of sketchy. I think it's, yeah, those Holy Novas may have bought him, bit him. It may have bit him in the ass a little bit. But they actually pulled through. I think the Paladin has laid on himself, so... You saw how giant this pack was. And there's even more coming, look at that. And they're able to handle this. I mean, yeah, sure, they're level 24 and all, so... maybe if we were lower level, they couldn't have done it. But then again, if you're participating here... Oh yeah, we're cursed and we don't have either a mage nor a druid, so we're gonna keep spawning the little poopy things. Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, I like what I see. This is good. And like I said before, the warrior is doing less, but he's thunderclapping a lot. He's doing demoralizing shouts. You can see it going out all the time. This helps the Paladin a lot. In my opinion, they would not have won that encounter without that, to be honest. It's just all the small things that add up, you know? Because him taking less damage, the tank, means the healer needs to heal less. And it was very close, healing-wise. Very, very close. And I don't think him doing just slightly more damage would have made that go a little bit better, so... That's what I think. This boss, if I remember correctly, does some silencing thing, which is not great. So let's pull a little bit back here. Yeah, the silence is terrible. The silence is terrible. I forgot which one of these guys is doing the silence. But it's not great. Let's just start focusing down these guys one by one. Alright, they pull through anyway, so that's great. Cool. It's all good, brubs. Maybe let's give them a second so we can rebuff and everything. Yeah, definitely bring a druid or a mage when you're doing this dungeon. Would be a good idea. Yep, Hunter's Mark, Scorpion Sting is out. Aim shot. I hope he did that from out of combat. Cool. Oh, nice shield, man. There you go. Another upgrade for our Paladin. He's got quite a few upgrades this dungeon. Look at this. This is crazy. He's having a good time. I think I forgot to turn on the debug for the hunter. Yeah, let's turn this on just so we can see what he's doing. Even though we can see what he's doing, but... multi-shot, auto-shot. Scorpius sting on the boss. Oh, he's doing aim shot. Again, so aim shot is part of his rotation, but only if he can figure out how to use it without messing up with his auto shot. So I hope that's what's happening. I may need to look into it again. But again, his damage is top, so I don't know. What else is there to say? Wow, another upgrade for the tank. Wow. This tank is having the best day of his life. Let's use Calm Toggle and get all of these guys together. Yeah, we can pull more of these guys together. I think maybe it was better to come here at 22 instead of 24. But at least we get to see some juicy AoE action. Alright, let's get them all together. We're doing some more big pulls. The hunter is struggling to find a place to shoot from. Cool. We're getting cursed to hell, but What can you do? Yeah, let's kill the ads here. That's strange. I kinda expected the Paladin tank to drop Consecration by now. Huh. More upgrades for the tank, everybody. Why isn't this guy dropping Consecration? Give me a second here, because I didn't like what I saw there. Yeah, I have no idea. He's supposed to be dropping Consecration if he's fighting a boss, so I can't tell you why he didn't do it. He's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to do it though. Strange. Wait, what happened with the boss's body? Oh wow, alright. Finally some upgrades which are not for the tank. Imagine that. Cool. He's still not dropping consecrations. Hold on, I need to know why. Why is this happening? Oh, okay, okay. Remember yesterday I had to fix an issue. Yeah, I had to fix an issue with the consecration, except I only fixed it for the DPS guy and not the tank. So that's why he wasn't using it. Well, it's a little bit too late now, but hey, at least we got to fix one thing out of this run, so that's good. I don't know where the boss died. Okay. Cool. More upgrades for the priest. Nice. Well, that was the run. I think I should have come here at 22. 24 seemed to be a little bit too much. But we did get to see some AoE action, and they handled large packs pretty well. I think if they weren't 24, that one pack back in the kitchen, they probably would have lost there unless you would have contributed. So I think that's how it goes. But otherwise, I think they did pretty well. I'm still a little bit surprised that the hunter was doing so many aim shots. Well, maybe not that many, but still. I think I was calculating. I'm pretty sure I had them calculate if it's okay to do it or not, so it doesn't interfere with their aim shot. But I kind of expected that to be something rare. I don't know. Maybe if they don't have that many attack speed bonuses or things like that, so at low level you may see it more often. I don't know exactly, but you know, we look at the damage done and it's top DPS, bro, so what else is there to say? That's it for Shadowfang Keep. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.